Hello, hello, hello. Happy Monday morning, everyone. How is everyone doing? Back to the regular time, although Thursday may be a different time. So keep that in mind. I'll let you know as we get closer. Good morning, Patrick. Good morning, PMG. Good morning, Jake. Good morning, Richard. Well, that's not a tough thing. I know Futures Edge gets better looking guests than you. That's not a tough thing. So, so we got a busy week, lots of Fed speak. We got Jackson Hole with Powell speaking on Friday. So this is sort of a interesting week. We got oversold and we got a minor reversal on Friday. We'll take a look at what I'm looking at coming into this week. As I talked about the sort of the bigger picture, what I was watching for Fridays, nothing's really changed. So today, we got some 3 and 6 month bill auctions, so nothing going on there. Tomorrow, we got Barkin speaking. We got the regional Richmond Fed indices. We got Bowman, Goolsby. So little Fed speak kicking off tomorrow. Wednesday, of course, the mortgage stuff. The S&P Global Composite Services Manufacturing. New home sales, crude numbers. And building permits, Jackson Hole officially kicks off on Wednesday. Then on Thursday, we have initial and continuing jobless claims, durable goods, Kansas City. So you got the regional indices this week. Kansas City, Fed. And Friday, you got final consumer sentiment number. But most important will be Powell speaking. Consumer sentiment, especially inflation expectations, will be important though too, but it'll really be focused on Powell. So remember that going into Friday. So far today, bouncing Tesla, bouncing Nvidia, pullback in J&J, but it looks like we're trying to put a bottom, at least a short-term bottom, in with the mega caps. Let's take a look. Let me just refresh the groups. So pretty much everything except comm services is positive today. Not surprising after last week bringing a pretty big sell-off in negative gamma mode, and we had OpX on Friday. In terms of Fed Watch, it's still pause, cut in May. So nothing has changed there. We're going to keep an eye on that especially after Powell speaks on Friday. Fear and greed still right at the lower end of neutral. We're going to see how that opens today. And keep in mind, even with this pullback, Schiller PE is still above 30. All right, in terms of earnings, we got Zoom after the close today. That's really all I'm going to be glancing at. Tomorrow, I'm going to be looking at Macy's and Lowe's are the main two. After the close, we got Toll Brothers, one of my favorite companies, Advanced Auto Parts. Always like it's got beat up severely, but let's see if it's close to putting in a bottom yet. We got Williams Sonoma Minor, but for the high-end retailer, it'll be interesting. Peloton, just because it's Peloton and I own one. But after the close on Wednesday is NVIDIA. That is probably the biggest thing all week. NVIDIA, Snowflake, Autodesk. Thursday, we got Dollar Tree, so the lower end consumer. We got Dollar Tree coming out on Thursday, and that's real, minor stuff Thursday afternoon and nothing on Friday. So you got some minor things, except for NVIDIA being a massively overvalued mega cap. Let's see what earnings do for that and how much they mention the word AI. All righty now. You can see from the bigger picture, we got yesterday the close still above the rotation zone, coming down, tapping the rotation zone. So we've completed finally a reconnection with the bottom of the rotation zone, getting to potentially bottom cycling areas, and on the daily, trying to turn up. Above Friday's high on a closing basis would be an aggressive bounce %B buy. So I will be focused on Friday's high and then today's close in relation to it. The high from Friday is 43.96. As you see on the daily, there's a clear path move. The breakdown zone is 44.79. The full target for a clear path move, which you have the rotation zone in the way, would be 45.05. There's multiple stopping points. A minor breakdown zone is roughly about this 44.35, 44.40. So keep that in mind. We're starting to already chip away the other side of the 4-hour rotation zone. So I'm going to be watching a break. Not only we're already above, well, we've already broken above Friday's high, but then intraday 44.07. Okay, and you see we got a little clear path up to 44.28 on the 4-hour. And where does that take us? That virtually can take us reconnecting with the daily rotation zone. Now remember, we got key resistance, 44.35 area, rotation zone just above that, the hooking over 50. The last time the 50 was really hooking over was back in February, and we had an extended sort of pullback flat period. So that does not mean we have to just rebound strongly. I am watching for this bounce. As I said, this is starting a new Elliott wave count. We just have to figure out if it's going to be impulsive or corrective. The only thing that will get me out of bounce mode and into a more sustained bullish run is if it can close above 45.28. That is the only thing. Other than that, it will remain in bounce mode for me. So we can have multi-day follow through in bounce mode, but it would have to get a close above the 62.5, 45.28 area before the probability shifts that we're not going to roll over, and this is not just a temporary bounce. Hope that makes sense. Now, if we do roll over the open, I'll be watching for a potential double bottom on that 4-hour time frame. If we break down, because we can't just count on anything can happen. So yes, still have to prepare, even though I'm watching for that bounce, still have to prepare for both sides. We have 43.14 as the harmonic. We still have a gap left behind at 42.98. And then the next harmonic's 42.79, and that's in the middle of this key support zone. So those will be the targets if we were to aggressively break with momentum. Even not today, but if we bounced and rolled over, those targets aren't generally going to change on the bigger time frame. So those will be going into, those will remain valid unless we make a new low today. Then we'll have to assess that. NASDAQ, pretty much same thing on the downside, and you see here still a gap left behind. Let's do downside first. 14.503, 14.427, 14.244. However, this is coming into a channel area, so I'd really be focused on this 14.427 after the potential gap fill. That's the downside. Same thing, we have a potential %B buy bounce as long as it closes above the high today. Now, that's why I'm watching that even intraday, because we get some momentum above the high from Friday. It could be possibly played. Can't give you exact trading advice, but it could be possibly played, trailing a stop. And if it's carried through with a close, played for at least a multi-day or at least a 2 to 3 day bounce. Potentially, but remember, no guarantees. Clear path move. Rotation zone still hooking over 50. The key target on the more sustained bounce is about 15,100 in the NASDAQ. So, chipping away at that 4-hour rotation zone, and you see the minor stopping point, we get to about 14,975. And that's where the daily rotation zone is coming in also. And even if you take it to the 50, you have a pretty decent support area with the breakdown zone. The full target on the clear path, should it be able to sustain that, which is going to be a struggle, would be 15,279. The only thing that gets me more bullish for a larger bounce is if it can follow through with a close above 15,518. Otherwise, I'll be watching for rollover plays. Hey, Options 22, thank you for tuning in from London. Hope you're getting some nice weather in London. The Dow. Again, potential %B buy, a follow through close. Pretty much everything's the same. The levels for the Dow. Look at where the second harmonic lines up with key support. So a breakdown below Friday's low, 34,139, 34,950. On a bounce play, clear path move, the breakdown zone in the Dow isn't till up here, beyond the other side of the rotation zone. So we have to look at the shorter time frame for anything. So if it breaks above this 4-hour rotation zone, minor is about 34,825. Then key is 34,900 for me in the short term. The Russell. Percent B buy, same thing there. Friday's close, trying to turn up into a clear path move. This is a more extended clear path move, so we have to look at the 4-hour for stopping points. Again, you start trading above the rotation zone. You still have about 1880 as key resistance. Above 1880, that's where it gets more interesting. Above 1880, the target area is about 1903 to 1905. And remember, you can always use harmonics retracement levels also. But that's where that stands. That's where that stands right now. If we want to take a look at where, let's see. And remember, this is the 200. This is a very key area. And the 200 is an area, so don't think of it as a brick wall. But if you start taking out Friday's low, not real good. 1815 and 1793. The VIX still upwards elevated, so on any pullback, 17 is key support with the rising rotation zone now. And it's setting up a higher base, so even at a pullback, even if we start dropping below 1709, I will watch for a little more extended rally, but unless it can get below this 15 level again, just still in bounce mode. DAX, retesting the key thing, watching for now a bounce in the DAX. Also, we have the percent B buy potentially set up. But the DAX levels, about 15,790 to 15,800. And then about 15,925. Again, not overly bullish, getting that vicinity of the 200. We'll leave these targets the same for now. If this is the pausing bar, we'll shift into the forward harmonics. Now the notes, the only thing right here, I'm keeping an eye. We do have a potential 4-hour double bottom, but that would need a 4-hour close above 109, not 109.28 and a half. Other than that, still watching for we've come back up and on Friday hit the rotation zone, rotating back down. Please keep this in mind. There is going to be, it's going to get very interesting if we can take out the lows from October. And this is the exact area where you'd want to use a reverse harmonic, at least for the bigger, if that does take out those lows. Now, we already have a little reverse harmonic or forward harmonic projection that ties in with those lows from October. But if that's taken out, 107.25. Hey, Sterling. The 10-year yield, we got a little mini double top. So if you're trading the micro yield, that's what I'd be paying attention to. That would need a 4-hour close below 4.216. To the upside, this is tackling the highs, the high yield from October. We break through that, 4.46. Keep a very close eye on that. Also, we're still in bear steepening mode. Had a little resistance shelf up here. I'm still going to be watching for this to go through this minus 57 basis points and then really paying attention to minus 52.5 basis points on a closing basis. Dollar index so far is pausing, holding the 200, holding the rotation zone. Now, we are in cycles tipping over on the daily and the weekly. We start breaking into the daily rotation zone. I'm watching for key support being back at about 102.20. And minor support, I'd have to use the harmonics from this last run-up, 102.36 area. All right? So if we do start having the dollar break below really about last Thursday's lows. Last Thursday's lows about 102.71. Then I'm going to be focused on the bigger pullback, which should also give more of a potential bounce to the equities. But remember, there's two kinds of corrections. So far, this is a sideways. That's why I'm watching to see if we break last Thursday's lows to go back into a pullback correction. Crude, we have a double bottom, which is triggered on the 4-hour basis and pulling back the key support levels about 80.40 to 80.50. Targets 82.15, 82.65, 83.21, 82.66 on a 4-hour closing basis, and especially a daily closing basis. We'll watch for a retest of the high areas back from 10th of August. Not much in natty gas yet. Gold, because this is a lot of these. So if the dollar starts rallying again, you'll see a lot of the commodities potentially pull back. Gold has confirmed but not yet triggered on a 4-hour basis to double. Needs a 4-hour close above 1926. Above 1926. 1932, 1935, roughly 1937 are the target areas on that. That's just a minor bounce pattern, taking it back into the daily rotation zone in the vicinity of the 200. If this 200 breaks, then we get interesting. Then we start getting interesting. Until that happens, we could be trying to put in a shorter term bottom here. Silver, there's some nice price action break up today, but there's no fantastic trade set up there. 10-year Japanese bonds, 10-year does have a little minor 4-hour double top. And yes, the bigger double top is still. So if we get a close below about 62.8 basis points, that triggers the little minor double back into the rotation zone on the daily. And the bigger double is still in play, although it needs a daily close below 56.4 basis points. So that's where we sit right now. Breaking out, keep an eye on this. Remember, if these doubles don't trigger, this is the pausing bar. Next major target, 68.2 basis points. Why am I watching that? Because of yen. Yeah, we are in little potential double top territory, I believe. We've hit enough. Yes, we have. I'll shift this to the conservative targets. If it gets down to triggering, once I know where the right-hand high is. But that's the only thing that's why I will start watching for the bigger pullback on the yen. Other than that, I'm watching for the rotation up in 147.35 and then 148.85. Now, we are in potential intervention territory for the Bank of Japan, so pay close attention to that right now. Pay close attention, especially if we start seeing sudden moves. Euro. Trying to hold the support. Weak bounce so far in the euro with the dollar pullback. I'm paying attention to see if this 108.45 level holds. If not, I'm watching for the 200. The better setup for any bounce play, we still have a little potential double in the pound. There you go. Options 22. The sterling. The pound. There we go. Could trigger a little mini double, but not yet confirmed or triggered yet. That would need a close above 128.19 for the bounce play. Bitcoin. It's going to get interesting if it gets a close below 24,750. That's all I'm really watching right now. What else do we have here? Hey, bro, hold on. Let me get to some other stuff first. Spideys. Again, pay attention to today's close, how it relates to Friday's high, 437.57. 437.57 is key for me. Then besides using the retracements, we'll use, since I already did the analysis based off the clear path on the futures, we'll just use the retracements because you could do the same analysis on those. So I'll just give a little different example. Trading 437.32. What would be target areas using this would be 439 area. 439 to about 439.60 would be the first target. The next target would be roughly about 4 43 at this point. Using the harmonics. Again, if we do pull back, I'd watch for any potential double bottoms. Keep an eye on the daily, where you're going to have some pretty key resistance at the hooking over 50 in the daily rotation zone, about 441.50. So 441.50 to 443 would be a major resistance zone target on any more sustained bounce this week. Minor going into the open, I'd be looking at a 438.20. Also the same thing. We're sitting there. We don't yet have a more solid bottom yet in the spiders and close to the bottom of the daily rotation zone, but that's close enough because the futures trump the spiders in terms of rotation zone. The Qs coming into the key support level on Friday and holding at this 354.75, 355 area on a weekly. That key support is 350.75. I'm still watching for the follow-through bounce, and the close would need to be above 359.41, trading 359.46 right now. The key levels to watch for on the Qs. I'd really be paying attention to about 361.50 and then 365.43. You're welcome, MJ. Tesla, watching also for a bounce. Tesla up pre-market. Thursday's close 219.22. We're trading above that, so we're doing a gap fill with a gap. Next key resistance is about 226. And then these are only bounce plays. Then 226. Then roughly about 234. And I'll be watching for a rollover. These are, again, bounce plays. Cycles getting to the bottom on the daily and the weekly. But we're also within, you see we're in the 50 to 62%. So this is also an area we watch for the bounce. And then the next rollover thing. The only thing that gets me more sustained bullish would be a close above 266.69. Other than that, it's a bounce with trailing. NVIDIA gapping up. I'm going to be watching in relation to about 451.50 on a closing basis. Remember, earnings on Wednesday. So I consider that a risky play going into earnings because this is priced for perfection. All right, Pan W. Then I'll get to see what Sterling has to say. Pan W. Hold on, let me clean up the chart. As you see, don't look at that one this much. Don't look at this one that much. Miss on revenue from Friday. Beat on earnings. Remember, revenue trumps earnings, but this is a gap up. So they're already doing not the full gap fill, but the gap fill to the open. So 234.81 going into the open is what I'd watch. The full gap fill would be 237.45 on a retracement basis. I'd be watching actually for a rollover in Palo Alto. But if it does close above let me get the exact number, 237.24, then the probabilities would shift to some higher price action. But I would not ignore from a trailing basis 244.45 as a stop raise, and then 251.67 would be a key target area. But that's only if it closes above the 62.5 harmonic. If it starts breaking down and cannot hold on a daily basis about 232, watch out below. The weekly chart of SMH and NQ1 are almost identical. They both have massive potential double tops that are a long way from triggering, but worth watching. Let's take a look at the SMH. Remember, we're still in. We've already. This has broken. That's where we sit now. And you're talking about the massive doubles. You're talking about, yeah, if If that were to go, then watch out below. You're talking about that? Yeah, and you're talking about this one, which you can see on the monthly. Yeah, see, if those were to go, that means something's really unraveling. That would be, you're talking boom, boom. And they do qualify. Where could that potentially take us? I'm just curious. Oh, boy. Then where's Waka Waka when we need him? Where's Waka? Those would line up with some Waka targets. 6,300, 4,900. Boy, there'd be blood in the streets then. But yes, a lot of those aren't even realistically worth talking about at this point. So thanks for bringing those up, Sterling. They are actually valid. With that, that's about it going into the open. I will be back tomorrow at the 8 a.m. time frame. So again, if we do roll over, watch for a little mini potential double, since we are hitting the other side of the rotation zone. So watch for a pullback, and then if either the double or the break of this key high 4408, then it could get a little extended run to the upside. And we are even after OPEX, we are in negative gamma territory. So you can get some, especially if you get some 0-day expiration call buying coming in, you could get a push. Watch that in the afternoon if we get a follow through push higher. Hey, Coco. Thank you. It wouldn't be you without you calling out 20K. So I'm glad you got to tune in and tell everybody to buy the dip. Coco's in buy the dip mode. With that, and I'm actually watching for a bounce. So there we go. I'll talk to everybody later. Bye for now.